Project Management Quick Tips. In any discussion of project management, I like to start it with a simple question. And the question is this: what are the attributes of a great project manager? If you were to give this some thought, I'm sure that you would come up with many of the attributes that I have listed here. Great project managers drive results. They tend to be well organized. They communicate effectively. They build and lead effective teams. They're flexible and are able to deal with the ambiguity inherent in every project. They're subject matter experts as well as they're great decision makers. Now, of course, we could add to this list and we could come up with many more qualities of a great project manager, but in many respects, I think this list gives you a good feel for what great project managers do. Most importantly, though, you should give a little bit of thought over which of these attributes you need to work on. We all want to be great project managers, and getting your PMP is a big step toward that goal. But becoming a great project manager takes time, as well as a commitment to managing projects and project teams professionally. Maybe it's a question of organization. Do you need to improve your organizational skills? How about AI tools? Would they help you plan your project more fully? It's these types of questions that great project managers are constantly asking of themselves. Another question that probably needs to be asked is this question: what is a project? In an adapted definition from the Project Management Body of Knowledge, or PMBOK, a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product or service. It is characterized by the need for the services of many different people in an organization, while requiring considerable planning and coordination of tasks. It is not an ongoing endeavor. It has a definite beginning and end. Now, all in all, this is a pretty decent definition of what is a project. However, I think there's another question that you need to consider, and that question is, what is a project to you? What are the attributes of this initiative that give you a strong indication that it is a project and will need to be managed professionally? Everyone's definition of a project is a little bit different. If you have decades of management experience, a project for you might be some highly visible enterprise-wide initiative. On the other hand, if you just started your new role recently, a project to you may not be so complex. Give this question some thought over the next few days, because when you know that you are about to manage a project versus just completing tasks by a certain due date, it will determine your response. It will determine how much project management you are actually going to apply to this project. Once we have that how much project management question answered, I think the next question you need to ask yourself is, what is project management? Now, a pretty common definition of project management is this one. It's the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities to meet project requirements. Personally, I think this definition is a little bit vague. It really doesn't tell you what skills, what tools, what techniques are actually being applied. In my opinion, I think you should think of project management this way. Think of project management as a framework, as a guide. Think of it almost as a decision-making model. And if you really want to boil it down to its essence, think of project management as a questioning technique. And that takes us to the 5 process groups of project management. Initiate, plan, execute, control, and close. Think about this for a second. When you are formally initiating a project, what questions should you be asking? How about questions such as, who are the stakeholders and what is their role? What is this project's priority? How will that priority affect my management choices? What is success? Who will formally accept the project result? Planning questions could include, what are the tasks? How long should each task take to complete? Who will do the tasks and why? All of these questions and their answers give you a greater insight into how you are actually going to manage a project. What questions do you need to ask when it's time to execute or even control your next project? How about questions you need to ask when you formally close out a project? As we prepare for the exam, remember that in many ways, everything we will cover is just getting you to ask the right questions of the right people at the right time. The more questions you ask, obviously, the better prepared you will be for managing your next assignment. However, each one of these questions takes time not only to ask, but also to answer. So you need to be certain that the questions you're asking are going to help you manage your next project successfully. What we've covered to start this course is a brief discussion of what makes a great project manager. Remember this question over the next 4 days. With new tools such as AI and PM best practices that vary from industry to industry, it's important to remember that being a great project manager will always come back to you and the professionalism you bring to the table. Now let's dive into the pinnacle of PM professionalism, passing the PMP exam. Here is the agenda we'll follow for the next 4 days.